なくない。死ぬわけにはいかないんだ。
脱だリリー。はいダンジョンウォーク。
This episode, my friends, of The Strongest Tank was so good and was so short. Like, no BS. I thought this was this was a really good episode. I want to be like, this is one of the best. We were only 3 episodes in. Yeah, okay, let me not be a dumbass. This is just a really good episode of Strongest Tank. And episode 1, I was like, okay, I think there's something here, but then there's a lot of genericness too of it. And I was like, I don't know how I'm feeling about this, right? And then we go into episode 2, and I was like, oh, I like what they're putting down in episode 2, right? Because episode 1 was all about, you know, being a tank at Heroes Party, getting kicked out of the Heroes Party, fighting the homunculi, you know, very A to B with these revenge type getting kicked out of the Heroes Party story. Like, there's like, honestly, if you go on any manhwa or manga site, like these types of stories are a dime a dozen. Like, just search on YouTube. Like, whenever you have a chance, if you're interested, search on YouTube. You know, got kicked out of Hero Party, and you'll just see pages and pages of those. What do they call it? Recap videos or whatever about just a ton of stuff, right? So these types of stories are a dime a dozen. So like episode 1, I was feeling like, oh, this is one of those dime a dozen type stories. Like, it's probably not like the worst thing, it's not the best thing, but okay. Episode 2, though, I was like, oh, okay, this is something, because it kind of changed. Like, oh, this is gonna be more like slice of life kind of things. Like, I like slice of life stuff, right? Like, I like the more mundane, you know, slow life kind of stuff. It's like, oh, okay, Tank dude goes back to his hometown, and he's like, he's still gonna go and do this dangerous adventuring dungeon stuff because he needs to find a cure for his sister. But ultimately, he's gonna like operate out of this town that he's from, and you know, they were just cooking and getting along and laughs and you know, going out on minor adventures to kill monsters. And we met the blacksmith, and we met the guards people of this town. It's like, oh, okay, this is slower. Episode 3 comes and gives us an emotional roller coaster with his sister Manasia. And last episode, we ended up specifically, last episode was her kind of like regretting being alive in a way, because she feels like she's holding her brother back. This episode, we kind of got like a glimpse of, and this episode felt really short, by the way, but we got a glimpse of what their school life was. So how they got out of the slums was a question that I had legitly, like, I really wanted to know what the answer was there. So how they got out of the slums was apparently the nobles, you know, think of nobles like politicians, right? Like, there's always you know, to move an agenda forward, there's always something, right? Like, oh, we're going to create this rec center. We're going to create this school program. We're going to create blah, blah, blah. So the nobles, what they did was they created this program to get kids who, you know, they're orphaned in the slums, get them out of slums and integrate them into society. So what they did was they built a school, they built a night school, and Manasia and Rudd got to go to this night school, and Rudd was fast-tracked because he was like, you know, star AAA, triple S class student, okay? Manasia looks like she was a good student as well, too, but she was just sickly. And people were, you know, like, she started to succumb to the, you know, high school rumor stuff of like, oh, Rudd's so good, but he's being held back by his sister. You know, instead of going to be a knight, he's going to go be an adventurer to, you know, help cure his sister. And they're like, oh, what a waste of your life. So she's had this gnawing kind of like thought in the back of her head and also what this episode showed was she's a lot older than I thought. You know, we can assume that Rudd's safely in his mid-20s, right? Like, maybe he's like 25. And this whole time I'm thinking Manasia is like 14 years old or something. But reality is she's probably like 20 at this point, you know, something like that. And I don't think their ages are specifically said, but I would say she's probably between, you know, 18 to 20 because they're no longer in school anymore. And I would say he's probably like 25, you know, somewhere, you know, give or take a year or 2 or 3 or something around there. So this has just seemingly been gnawing at her for a while, and thanks to Luna, she was finally able to get her to engage her brother in this conversation and talk to him, and that was a really cool thing to see. And I thought it was really heartwarming. And, you know, one of the things that Luna had told her was like, you know, you're only thinking from your one perspective, like, you know, from your brother's perspective is like what he's doing could be making him happy. And when she actually talked to him, that just reaffirmed that of like, and we already knew that he's like a 𝐒𝐶𝐽, right? So we already knew like, you know, his sister's the most important thing to him ever, like doing anything for her. He doesn't see that as a task or, you know, anything like he sees it as a positive, like, you know, I get to do this for my sister. Like, you know, I love my sister. And I think now they're going to be a little bit closer because she no longer has that gnawing guilt at her, which I think is a really good thing too. Then we got to see the Nin stuff. So Nin comes to visit the healer girl, the saint girl. And obviously she liked Rudd before, and that was pretty obvious. Maybe Rudd didn't quite get that, you know, because our MC has to be, you know, dumb as a doornail. That's just the way it always goes. But, you know, she genuinely likes him. She comes because he had invited her, like, hey, come visit my town. She's going to stay there for a while, stay in his room, stuff like that. The major thing is we had some satisfaction, and we got to see the hero. And obviously, much like every other story goes, Rudd was the thing kind of tying the hero's party together. He was absorbing all their damage, which meant the hero could perform at a level that he couldn't before because Rudd was providing them extra shield, extra shields, and his powers take away from his shield. And in not having Rudd there, he got demolished and his whole party left him. So now that tells me that all the girls that the hero had, including Nin, are now going to gravitate towards Rudd. And here is where our harem arc begins, which includes his sister, which you can feel about that how you feel about that. So anyways, episode 3, banger episode. Really enjoyed it. I have nothing, like 10 out of 10. Like I have nothing but like real high praise to say. You know, even if I were to nitpick, I don't think that there was anything to nitpick about this episode. I thought it was like, for what the show is, I thought it was a perfect episode. And I was laughing, and there was that emotional moment with Monacia, and the good feeling, like, yeah, I get that mother effort with the hero, and like all the emotions that I want to feel when I'm watching a show or watching anime. It nailed it. So I think this was a perfect episode. So I know I'm maybe overpraising, but like genuinely, when you like, yo, I just watched that. Like that I want more right now. Like that's the type of praise that when you have that feeling from an anime that you need to, you know, feel. So in my opinion. Anyways, let me know how you feel. Maybe you hated it. Maybe you loved it. Maybe you thought this was trash. Maybe it wasn't enough. Maybe this is the episode that you're like, I'm not watching this anymore. It's not holding my interest. Whatever that feeling is, totally okay. These were just mine. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Interested to see what you guys thought of this episode. All right, my friends. Deuces. See you next weekend.